I've watched lots of replays from teams like Shopify Rebellion, OG, Liquid, Team Spirit, Gaming Gladiators, and more to see where they like warding on the new map in 7.33. Today, I want to share with you some common and not so common ward spots I've noticed these and other teams using. Many teams like placing an observer ward on a twin gate at the start of the game. This is great for scouting early rotation since you can use a twin gate at any time. You can make fairly easy rotations with the twin gates in the laning phase, especially if the lane is pushed far away from the safe lane tier 1 tower. A ward on either gate will be able to scout these rotations, keeping your safe lane, well, safe. This ward is also just great throughout the game to scout rotations and movements around Roche, so not just for the early game. Matthew on EG places a ward on this little rock bump thing near the Radiant bottom tier 2 tower. This will give vision of the high ground next to it, as well as some good vision in the lane. This is great for seeing heroes moving to or from the jungle to farm. Boxy from Liquid buys a Quelling Blade for the sneaky spot right to the left of the spot on the high ground. If you don't break any trees, you can still get an observer ward in a spot that gives some good vision of the Radiant jungle and a sliver of the lane. But if you're able to break some of these trees, this spot can give lots of really nice vision of the area. Supports on Bet Boom, Toronto Tokyo, and Save like to ward these areas in the new side jungle near the safe lane. We've been seeing safe laners move to this part of the map to farm, and these wards scout that perfectly. Also, this ward will see heroes coming down the stairs from the twin gate. They like doing the same thing on the dire side. These wards are great too, because you'd likely think a ward to cover this part of the map would be on this cliff, and sometimes it is, which can be fine, but these wards on the ground aren't as obvious and still cover important paths that a hero will likely move through. There's a similar type of ward that Panda from EG has, which is pretty unusual. There's this strange looking house thing above the medium camp in the water in this new side jungle above the dire safe lane. You can place a ward up here to scout heroes farming that medium camp and the large camp to the left of it. This is a really nice sneaky ward that isn't likely to get dewarded. We've seen lots of players warding this spot in the river, around where Roche used to live. You can place a ward on this bottom side easily, and it gives vision to scout rotations through the river as well as the top rune. Liquid puts in a little extra work by using a Quelling Blade to get a sneaky but very useful ward on the other side of this rock. You'll need to break at least one tree to place a ward here, but if you can break the tree above it as well, you'll be getting full vision of the top of all of these stairs, as well as any rotations through the river here. Be careful placing this ward too far to the left. If the enemy places a sentry on the right side of this cliff as well as an observer ward, the sentry will have enough range to see your sneaky ward. So consider placing your observer ward more on the right side if you're worried about this. We've seen some players warding this spot, which is really nice since it sees the medium camp next to it, some of the jungle, and anyone moving in or out of the jungle from these stairs. If you break this tree, it'll also give vision of the path and stairs to the right. There's a cool spot near the mid lane on the Radiant side behind this large camp. This spot gives great vision of the mid lane and can also see the bottom rune. There's another spot just to the right of that'll give vision of the rune and some vision along this path. If you're able to cut this tree, you can get some nice vision of the Radiant jungle. The downside of this ward is that it blocks the camp. That's nice so you can deny the enemy a farm, but bad since it'll give away that there's a ward there. The enemy will have to cut a tree to find it, so it might cause some confusion for them and waste their time trying to find it. Another spot near this large camp, which will of course give vision of the camp, as well as a couple of paths that lead into the jungle so you can see where the enemy is moving to. Taiga from OG has a nice ward in this area as well. It's a sneaky defensive ward if you're on Radiant and maybe the enemy has a gem, or an offensive ward if you're on Dire to see rotations out of the Radiant base. There are lots of ward placements that can give different vision in this spot, so I'd recommend testing some out and seeing which spots you like. I personally like the spot here that Taiga uses, and if you can break any trees to the right, you'll also get vision of this large camp and some of the jungle. I love this ward spot from IG. This is great because it's very unlikely that it'll be found, and it sees a lot. If an enemy places a sentry on the cliff to the north of this ward, the observer won't be in range. This ward can see the edge of the ancient camp above it, so if someone's farming there, you might be able to see them. It sees a little bit of the lane and the path to the right if anyone is trying to sneak around to the Lotus pool or maybe to snatch the Wisdom rune. Pog ward, I approve. There's a similar spot on the Radiant side as well, although that spot is a lot closer to the cliff next to it and it doesn't see the ancient camp. And here are some more common ward spots that we've been seeing often in pro games. These aren't too special, but they're good and get the job done. Oftentimes, that's all you need from a ward. You don't always have to get super fancy and place every ward in a crazy unusual spot just so it lives its full life. Sometimes the most valuable wards are the most common ones that only live for the duration of a team fight, but give the necessary vision during the fight to ensure you win it. I'm sure there are loads of other awesome ward spots. These are just some nice ones that I've noticed from recent pro games that I wanted to share. I love watching how and where people ward, so if you have any other cool ward spots, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something new with me.